All right, what's up, guys? Good morning. Happy Monday. And you know what? We got one more week. We got one more week to say we got one more week because that has been the Orioles season this entire year. And I was ready to throw in the towel. If Caminero gets a hit yesterday and Batista after he threw it feels like or felt like his 100th pitch of the day, it's a million degrees out there. If he would have blown the save yesterday, I would have thrown the towel in. But Batista gets it done, holds on. Orioles win. They lose 2 out of 3 to Tampa. They're 10 games under 500. And this is the last week. The last week they have to basically convince the front office to make an addition or at least pump the brakes on getting rid of anybody as they try to make one more final push towards the postseason. So you know what? I'm all in. I'm all in for tonight, tomorrow, until they lose. The Guardians are basically in the same spot. They won 2 out of 3 against Oakland or whatever Oakland is. The Athletics can't keep up these days. The Athletics, the Guardians beat them 2 out of 3, but they're a couple games under 500, and they're probably feeling the same way Orioles are feeling in the front office. If they can't put together over the next 10 days a really good stretch, they're going to trade some of their pieces. So if the Orioles win all 4 of these games, I know that sounds crazy right this second, but who knows? Maybe they get there. The Rockies are coming this weekend, which I know anything's possible, but here we are. So they get one more chance to tease you to hopefully, as the Blue Jays are coming into town after that for 4 games, as the deadline basically ends. I think they're there for 4 games or 3 or 4. Anyway, it's the deadline is the Thursday. They have the off day, so that's the first Orioles off day is after the series with the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays are after the Rockies. So you can just talk yourself into it one more time because Trevor Rogers was awesome yesterday, and I was trying to figure out watching the game like maybe what's different. Heard some different people have some different takes on it. For me, it's just the batter seems so uncomfortable. Like the deception in his pitches, maybe he's releasing the ball a little bit later, but it's just a lot of swings and misses, a lot of chasing. He did a great job yesterday, and the Orioles win. So we're back. We're officially got one more week to at least be fans before we start trying to figure out who the hell we're going to trade for, as nobody even knows who these prospects are, and then it's just I'm telling you these guys aren't worth very much. So unless you're going to attach people that you don't want to officially attach, i.e. Batista, and yesterday he didn't help his trade value. I mean, his velocity was a few miles down than it was the last time he pitched. He hadn't pitched in about 10 days. Not great. O'Hearn almost killed Soto on Saturday. Like, thank God that Soto ducked and O'Hearn missed him because that might have just been the worst play in baseball history because I don't know what O'Hearn's doing. But if I'm a contender and I watch the end of that game, I'm like, I don't know if that's my starting first baseman down the stretch, maybe more of a DH, and his contract's up. So the thing that people, jump on, it's like, here's all these free agents that the Orioles, free agents at the end of the year that the Orioles can trade because, their contract's up. But the flip to that is the other team doesn't value that because now there's no control. So there's just not a big return coming for these guys unless you're going to throw Kramer in there. And I know nobody's talking about that, but that's a guy that people want. Morton and Sagano, and now Eflin, as he'll probably make a start this week. I don't know. There's no control for those guys, and they just haven't pitched well this year. So if the Orioles are truly going to be sellers, as Elias was advertising yesterday on the MLB network, basically, and I'm assuming the strategy for that is so his phones start ringing because I don't know why else you need to go out to publicly say that unless you want your phone to start ringing. But Kramer and Batista are the guys that you would want to enhance your pitching staff. Maybe Cano if a team feels like there's value there. Kittredge, maybe. Again, he's got I think it's a club option for next year or a player option. Either way, it's one more year of control, and he's just been okay. But yeah, that's why it's such a dark picture. Mullen, same thing. I don't know. He's not playing down the stretch. He's a defensive center fielder that maybe, depending on the team, depending on injuries over the next week, starts against righties, but he's not starting against lefties, most likely. And his stats aren't great. So it's making it hard defensively. We watch every day, so we see the value, but for whatever reason, the way they do these analytics, he's not having a good season. His trade value, he has no control. None of these guys have trade value. They just don't. The guys that have trade value are the same guys that had trade value last year, are the young guys, and they're just not going to be moved. And which is fine. I'm not upset about that. I don't think anybody wants Westberg or Cowser or Jackson or Gunner to be moved, but those are the guys that have the real value. The Orioles are in such a shitty position. You can't emphasize it enough. So people are like sellers, buyers, sell. Who the hell are they selling? Who the hell is buying this right now? And especially after this weekend, as Morton's value went down, O'Hearn, he hit the home run yesterday, but defensively, yeah, the Orioles are trying to ship him out as he can play three positions. He can play right field, first base. I don't know about left field, but at least right field or first base. And other teams are like, I don't want him playing either of those positions. So the Orioles have no leverage. They're not in a position to, you know, and I mentioned this last time I spoke. Elias had all the leverage the past really three trade deadlines. The first deadline where, we went 500, he had the leverage because those Mancini and Lopez were the two big ticket items. And in the past 2 years, he had the leverage because he's got the golden prospects. He didn't use it. And now he has no leverage, and teams, everybody's human. GMs feel a certain type of way, and now they're going to squeeze the Orioles, and that's just the nature of the business. So unless it's Trevor Rogers or Dean Kramer, or Felix Bautista, there's not a lot of value in the Orioles pitching staff. And Kerstad, what's he batting? 160? I mean, he was my favorite player last year. They've completely killed his confidence. It's a great idea for somebody who's not the best outfielder in the world. Let him play either left field or right field instead of all over the place nonstop, because his confidence is just gone. Hopefully, it gets rebuilt, but you can't trade him. And Mayo sucks. I don't like Mayo. I haven't really liked him since I've seen him bat. Like, he's just not great. And his bat speed is and he's got no pop. He's not great in the field. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do. That's why I just want them to win these next few games and be like, you know what, maybe they're going to make one final run, because this trade deadline is more and more depressing the more you think about it. So, all right, that's the update for me on the Orioles, which we got Sagano tonight and hopefully some Orioles magic to continue here in Cleveland. I wanted to just mention this for a few minutes before I get out. The Warren Sharp, if you're not subscribed or you don't read his articles, he does, I would say, the best, if not the best. You got to tell me who's doing better than him, breaking down the NFL year after year, very affordable, and just boom, tons of opinions and tons of just facts. I love listening to him. I love reading him. And he just released a couple weeks ago what he thought were the best sports books for you to bet on for the NFL, depending on what you're looking for. So I was just going to read them out real quick and give my 2 cents on it. As I'm sure as we get closer to football season, if you're looking to make preseason bets, my best advice is to always shop around to get the best possible deal you can. But again, if you're not doing this full time and you're just betting on Sundays, or you're just betting the NFL in particular, and you don't want to spend more than 15, 20 minutes and you're trying to figure out what's the best sports book for you, I think Warren Sharp does a good job of giving his reasonings why. So the first sports book he recommends is BetMGM. And I'll just read them out first and then we'll go. So BetMGM, FanDuel, Bet365, DraftKings, Caesars, Hard Rock Bet, Fanatics, and then ESPN Bet comes in eighth. The breakdown, I think it was like 45% of all the money in the U.S. was wagered on FanDuel last year. And then it was like 36, sorry, I don't have these exact numbers in front of me, 36% for DraftKings. And then MGM had 9%. Maybe it was closer to 10, and then kind of filtered out after that. So FanDuel is still the most popular, and DraftKings, second. And they have I would imagine they dominate the market primarily for, daily fantasy, the ease of the apps, the first to market, all that jazz. But what Warren Sharp is saying is BetMGM for NFL in particular is the best one. He highlights that for your first bet, If you win, which is an interesting way of doing business, if you win, you get to keep your money, but up to 1,500 bucks, right? Like if you make your first bet and you win, you just keep it. Great, you're off to a winning start. But if you lose, up to $1,500, they'll reimburse you exactly how much you bet in betting credits to give you another chance to kind of get off on the right foot. So that's intriguing. Whereas the others are offering less incentives, according to Warren Sharp. And then my 2 cents on it, I'll just say this. So unless you're getting something else out of this, meaning unless you're Fanatics, you're getting gear, or MGM or Caesars, you're getting discounts on gear, I should say, or you're getting discounts on hotels and flying. If you're not doing that and you're betting significant money, thousands of dollars a week on these games, or whatever feels significant to you, I have a really hard time with using these apps in general. I think it's extremely predatory, and I think the best way to do it is to just bet in cash. And if it's inconvenient for you to get to a casino, and this is the only way you can do it, I don't know. I just, as this becomes more available, and I feel like I'm numb to the marketing because they're not marketing to me. I've been betting on sports now for, I'm getting old, 20 years, 25 years almost. Not quite 25 years, but 20 years just betting. And I've been victims to different, things, but never a victim to marketing. It was never shoved down your throat because it was illegal unless it was in Vegas. So there was no commercials. It wasn't my favorite, comedians and my favorite actors and my favorite athletes constantly promoting it with, let's just be honest, a beautiful, beautiful lifestyle. Like it's always all these commercials, the subtle messages that are creeping through to younger people or people that aren't in a great mood to begin with, have the fear of missing out complex, haven't done a lot of traveling, don't get out much. Man, you see these pictures, you see the easy way to make money. And if you're on these apps long enough, I mean, you just see it all the time. There's stories after stories that you just don't realize how addicted you become. So whether you're getting killed financially or just wasting your time, I just have a hard time with these apps in general. I really do. I think that the best way to bet on sports, if you're committed to do it consistently, is bet with your cash so you feel it, number one, and go to the casino. Actually hand them your money and do it that way, or just let it go, because I'm going to continue to talk about that. It's just not an easy way to make money. It's really not. There's too many variables moving, and there's just way too much money now involved. And the reality is, if you're getting hot on these apps, even if you don't have, for whatever reason, you just get on a lucky streak or you're betting obscure bets, there's a ton of different stories where the app is just, they have algorithms to slow your bets. And people then pretend like they have inside info, or not inside information, but they pretend that they're the best sports bettors in the world. In reality, it's, sometimes you just get hot, or sometimes it's, the luck of whatever you're betting on. And yeah, I'm not going to say some people can't be experts and hone in on something, but then think about that. If you actually do become an expert and you hone in on something, the algorithms are in place from these apps to cut you off. So if you feel like you're beating the line or you have an edge one way or the other, you're going to get flagged, and then you have unnecessary issues. I just don't think it's the best way to make money. With that being said, if you are betting for fun, or you're betting an amount of money where, it is fun for you, even if it's a lot of money and you're just not using the apps very often, and you feel like you're not a victim to the marketing and all the bullshit, then apparently BetMGM is the best one to use, according to Warren Sharp. But I would say, yeah, BetMGM and Caesars and Hard Rock, what you would want to do with them is, yeah, take advantage. Take advantage of betting through them, of their loyalty program for, just eating and traveling, whatever it is, because that's where we win right this second, because there are a ton of companies competing and they can only offer you so much. And if you're willing to be on the phone or hit the chat button or try to negotiate, yeah, you can get some perks besides what they just offer you. So that would be my 2 cents on it. FanDuel, And DraftKings are going to be the leaders for daily fantasy. And if that's what you want to do, yeah, go for it. I still think entering those tournaments, yeah, it's kind of like a scratch off. Like if you can do 20 bucks a week or 50 bucks a week and it doesn't, and you enjoy it, then sure, who cares? I'm not the moral police, obviously. I'm not preaching not to. I just don't want people to be a victim of thinking this is the way to make money. It's just I think that's the part that I like to focus on, which is that, yeah, maybe one year you do make some money, maybe the next year you make some money. That's great. But if you think you're going to make real money, sustainably doing this, yeah, it's just not going to happen. I got enough experience to feel comfortable saying that. So, all right, let me get out of here and just root the Orioles on or turn it off at least for this week. I'm telling you, the trade deadline stuff is way too depressing to really go through. So I went through it a little bit, but I'm going to refrain. I'm going to pop back on Friday to talk about how we swept the Guardians and we're ready for the Rockies, and we're just back. We're 6 games under with 3 against the Rockies. That's what I'm going to speak into existence. If you're betting, just remember, if you're betting on baseball at this point, stay away from the big favorites, the -1.5s. If you really think it's a lopsided game, my advice is to take that best team where you're like, man, I just love the Dodgers today. They can't lose, blah, blah, blah. Take them on the money line in a parlay with another game that you like or a future bet of something that you like so you can get some added value. But trying to get your money back at the end of the week, betting 500-600 bucks to win 200, 250, thinking you know what you're doing. Yep, this is your warning. So, all right, have a good day. Whew, see you guys. See you Friday.